Hey guys, so we're going to go back through every single page that we've done for lesson 31. And I want to make sure everybody has all of the answers. I want to make sure we all understand. Sometimes it gets a little loud in Google Hangout, but I want to make sure you understand what we're doing. So we are starting our brand new lesson called Understand the properties of shapes. I want you to underline that word because properties is the same exact thing that we were talking about with rocks. Remember last week we said that rocks have properties like luster, color, hardness. Those are the properties of rocks. Well, shapes also have properties, and a property is just a way that we can identify something. If you said Mrs. Wood has black hair, that is one of my properties. If you said Mrs. Wood is tall, that's one of my properties. If you said Mrs. Wood wears an Apple Watch, that's one of my properties. So when we see different shapes, they also have properties. So the two things to remember, two of the ways that we can talk about the properties of shapes are by talking about their sides, the number of sides they have, and the number of angles. Now it says we can always count the sides on a shape. Like this shape has 1, 2, 3 sides. So by that, we already know it's a triangle. Also, you can count the angles. Here's an angle. There's an angle. There's an angle. 3 angles. So this shape is called a triangle. This is how we can identify this shape. Now it says some shapes have sides with all different lengths. This shape right here, all of the sides have a different length. Now it says if you have a centimeter ruler, you can measure these sides and that will prove to you. But we can just see with our eyes that all of these sides are different. Now the next one says some shapes have 2 or more sides that are the same length. Like this side right here, A and B, they are the same length, but C is a little bit shorter. Some shapes have sides that are all the same length. This shape right here is called a pentagon. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. And now for this pentagon, all 5 sides are the same length. If you still had that ruler out and had that ruler handy, you would notice that they were all the same. Some shapes can have opposite sides that are the same, like these 2 sides are the same length, those opposite sides. Remember this shape right here is called a rectangle. Now let's look at the back. Guys, I did a big no-no. I wrote with a marker so it bled through. I'm so sorry about this, but we can still read the info. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about are some of the angles. One way that we can describe the angles of some shapes is that they have square corners. I want you to highlight, underline, circle the word square. And so this is a square corner. Look at that square corner. Another square corner, another square corner. Just like the square corners of my paper. So some shapes have those. Now, some shapes just have 1 square corner, like that triangle. Some shapes, this pentagon right here, it actually has 2 square corners. Remember, it has 5 sides. This shape has 5 angles, but it has 2 square corners. Now, y'all, some shapes sadly have no square corners. Now, number 1 at the bottom says, what are some ways we can describe shapes? Well, I'm going to write a really good 3rd grade sentence here. We can describe, shapes. I don't know how to spell shapes. Oh, there it is up there. That way I don't misspell it. Make sure you are using the text to help you spell words. We can describe shapes by their sides and angles. So we can describe shapes by the number of sides or the number of their angles. So I'm going to put here something So we can say number, because we can talk about the number of sides and angles they have. We can say length. We can talk about the length of their sides. And we can say, I want you to put square corners. We can talk even more about the angles, and we can figure out if some shapes have square corners. Okay, that is a recap of the first 2 pages in lesson 31. We can describe shapes by their sides and angles. And then I want you can even put a little bracket around it. To be more specific, we can talk about the number of sides, the number of angles, the length of their sides, and we can also describe angles that have square corners. Pause the video right here if you need to copy that.